Hey, my name is Anthony. I'm a divorce lawyer in Pasadena, California, and today we're going to be watching Marriage Story.
Let me get this out of the way. I think you're a wonderful actress.
Thank you.
I loved All Over the Girl, but the theater stuff, too.
You saw the theater stuff?
I was in New York last year for my book, which reminded me to give you a copy.
So the initial consult, the first meeting that you're going to have with your attorney, we call it the initial consult. So this is going to be a really good example of what that meeting is like.
How are you doing?
Oh, honey.
One of the things that happens a lot when you're dealing with divorce cases is that there's a lot of pent up emotion, a lot of raw feelings. So a lot of that comes out during the initial consultation. So this isn't unusual at all. I have, consults that I give in which they almost become therapy sessions. And that's kind of something that happens with Nora here, where she's actually listening to her and relating to her and trying to understand where she's coming from and her feelings.
What's this?
It's a manila envelope, love. Ooh, can I start over?
There's my name on it.
Oh, Jesus. Sorry. You're served.
So service of process requires two things. Number one is you have to physically hand the paperwork and leave it with the person. And number two, you have to notify them of the content. So she checked off both of those things here. Super duper awkward to do it in her parents' house, but that was a valid service of process right there.
Hello?
Is this Charlie Barber?
Yes.
Hi, this is Nora Fanshaw. I represent your wife, Nicole Barber.
Hi.
Do you have an attorney yet?
No.
Okay, then it's okay for me to talk to you directly, okay?
Okay.
So one of the things you're not allowed to do when someone is represented by an attorney is talk to the opposing party directly. You have to communicate with their attorney. So because Charlie doesn't have an attorney here, it's okay for Nora to give him a call and to ask him questions about what's going on with the case.
Here's the fact, Jack. I charge $950 an hour. Ted is $400. If you have a stupid question, you call Ted.
Yes, there are different billing rates per firm. So those are set based on the experience, the skill, and the reputation of an attorney. So right here, Ray Liotta's character bills at $900 per hour. His associate bills at a lot less than that. So I probably wouldn't approach it that way. I would say, you know what, maybe direct your questions that you might have to the associate while I handle the overall kind of part of your case. But it's absolutely correct. There are different billing rates inside of the law firm. And depending on who you're talking to, you might get charged a different amount of money depending on who's answering that phone call.
To start, we'll need a $25,000 retainer,
Oh, that's more than
And
I
all
can...
your financials, we need to do a forensic accounting.
which runs anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000.
Divorces can be extremely expensive. Divorces with children run in the range of $29,000 here in California, in Southern California. So the quotes that Charlie's receiving aren't really that far out of the realm of possibility. Yes, they're very much on the higher end, but it's entirely possible that, with a forensic accountant, someone that's looking over all your finances, as well as the attorney's retainer, you would be well above $30,000 just from the outset of the case. So it's totally plausible.
She and Charlie would come here most holidays and summers to spend time with her family, who all live in LA. She and Charlie were married in LA. Would you like to see the photos?
No, I don't need to see the photos. Although I'm sure they both look beautiful.
So what's happening right here in this scene is called a voluntary settlement conference. This is just a voluntary meeting by which to see if they can come to any resolutions on any parts of the case. That way you don't have to litigate those issues and ultimately save the client money.
He flies out here every chance he gets.
I don't see any reason that you can't be out here
He
full
makes his
time.
living in New
Oh,
York.
sorry. Do we want to contemplate lunch?
Good idea.
I'll order now so it'll come when we're all hungry.
Yeah.
Everyone good with mayonnaise?
I'd love mayonnaise.
Mm-hmm. Have you had Manny's? Ah, you'll love it. Just really yummy sandwiches and salads.
I'll have the BLT.
This is a great example of how divorce attorneys and family law attorneys are able to separate work from their normal things that eating lunch. You see the look on Charlie's face right now. He's trying to figure out what's going on. But the reality is we work on these types of cases every single day, and we still have needs like eating lunch. So it's a little bit awkward for them to see these two people who were just kind of going at each other all of a sudden put a pause on it and get lunch. But that's really how it happens. We interact with these people on almost a daily basis, and we see a lot of the same faces. So it's important to still maintain that kind of level of professionalism and friendliness, and you're still colleagues, but even though you're representing different people.
Me.
What? Who's that?
Oh, Charlie shouldn't have done this.
What do you mean? Where's Bert?
This means that everything we've agreed upon now is off the table.
We've got LA, right?
Now with Jay Murata representing him.
Different attorneys will have different styles. You'll have street fighters. You'll have kind of peacemakers like Barry is. We find out that Ray Liotta's character is a little bit more of a bulldog when it comes to court. And every single attorney has their own style as to how they want to get their client's goals accomplished. You can absolutely change your attorney during the process of the divorce case if you don't like the way that it's going. And that's completely within your right. But understand that every single attorney is going to have a different recommendation as to how they think you should get your case resolved.
Charlie's just received the enormous sum of $650,000 in the form of a MacArthur grant. This is for the theater work he conducted during the marriage.
Installments over 5 years.
So by Jay's same logic, this is work that Nicole contributed to in numerous ways.
And to pay back debts that he's accumulated with his theater company that stars his wife.
These two attorneys arguing with each other like this in court is not something that you would typically see happen. Usually the judge will put a tight control on the way that the proceedings go. This case is getting a little bit out of hand.
Your recap of this situation is outrageous. And although California is without doubt a no-fault state, it bears mentioning in the accurate recap of this situation that Charlie had had extramarital affairs.
This is not something that would happen in court. What she means by California being a no-fault state, the state that I practice in, is that it doesn't matter why the marriage ended. So the evidence of Charlie potentially having an extramarital affair, that shouldn't be coming into court, and the judge would usually stamp that out really, really fast.
So I'm going to appoint an expert evaluator who knows much more about young children than I do.
What the judge is talking about here is the appointment of a child custody evaluator. The family code under California does give the court the right to appoint an expert to do an interview of the parties and maybe the minor child to basically make a recommendation to the court as to what they think is going to be best for that child.
What's a day like for the two of you here?
Well, if he has school, I take him there.
So you have to be away.
Yes, recently, since Nicole's been working on the show in LA, I come back and forth a lot.
That sounds difficult.
It is. And expensive. I'll try to take him with me some of the time, but Nicole doesn't like for him to fly so much.
Well, that can be hard on a child, all that recycled air.
Child custody evaluators can be surprisingly detailed, actually very detailed. They have access to a lot of information. They have the power of the court to research and look into your background and see anything that they need to see that would be necessary to ensure that the best custody orders come for the child. So this is a very common thing in cases where a child custody evaluator is appointed for them to come and visit the home and see how the parents interact with the child.
And whenever Charlie is in LA, I got the custody breakdown to be 55-45. So you'll have Henry an extra day every 2 weeks.
I thought we made it equal.
I tweaked it at the last minute. I just didn't want him to be able to say he got 50-50, bragging to his friends.
But I don't want to do that.
Normally, attorneys don't, go out and seek additional orders or modify the agreement without their client's knowledge or their consent. So this is not something that would probably happen. I know Nora really wanted to stick it to Charlie, and it looks like she wanted just to get one more little jab in at the end, but from a legal perspective, that's not 100% proper. The client would need to know about that first and consent to that arrangement.
We were gonna bring him to dinner, but
He's so wiped out. You want to take him?
It's your night.
No.
Yeah.
Good.
I'll drop back in the morning.
Yeah, text me when you're up to figure something out. You're gonna go with your dad, okay? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
So we see later on that Nicole and Charlie have moved past their differences. They're now exercising shared custody, and they actually even make an agreement to have Nicole's time be Charlie's time for this dinner after the Halloween party. Our goal as divorce attorneys isn't to destroy lives. We're trying to help people move on to the next step of their lives and get them to a point where they're able to be civil and not necessarily friendly, but be able to be cooperative with the other parent, because ultimately that's what benefits the child the most, is having two parents together that can tie, the other person's shoe and be able to come to agreements. So that part really kind of, pulls on your heartstrings. It makes the work that we do worth it. Again, our goal is simply to just help people to get past a difficult part of their lives. And this movie really does a great job of showing that even when the emotions are really high, it's only temporary, and that you're able to hopefully get past those emotions and to start working together for the best interest of the child. That's really what we work towards. I think this movie is probably about a 9.5 out of 10 in terms of what the divorce process is like. Now, this is a very high conflict case. Not every single case is like that, but the way that they portrayed it on the screen, the law and the courtroom scenes and the interactions of the attorney, they hit it right on the head. This was A Divorce Attorney Reacts to Marriage Story. I'm Anthony Lai. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.